I myself was into drugs, deep into drugs back in the 80s, and I know how hard it is to get out of it, and then to become swayed.
Arnel Pineda has dealt with pressure before, but this time it felt different. After a tough night on one of the biggest stages in the world, he turned to social media and did something most artists wouldn't dare. He opened up. He shared his doubts, his exhaustion, and posed a question that caught everyone off guard. Was it time to walk away from Journey? This wasn't a stunt. It was raw, real, and deeply honest. What followed, both his words and the response from fans, marked a turning point that would shift everything. How pain shaped a star. Arnel Pineda came into the world on September 5, 1967, born at St. Luke's Hospital, Jude Thaddeus Diagnostic Clinic in Tondo, Manila. He is the eldest of 4 siblings, naturally falling into that big brother role, the one who sets the pace. Life wasn't easy growing up, but it felt a little more bearable when his mother, Josefina, who he lovingly called Ima, the Kapampangan word for mama, was still around. She was the backbone of their family, strong-willed, bold, and honest to the core. Even though times were hard, Ima was determined to give her kids a solid foundation. She enrolled Arnel in a Catholic school, believing that a church-based education was still the best option in the Philippines. Arnel didn't disappoint. He was a bright student, attending the same elementary school as his younger brothers. Teachers would often compare them, but the boys didn't mind. They carried that pride of family. Outside the classroom, Arnel was everywhere. He sang in the school glee club, played with the Rondalla troupe, and performed in school events whenever he got the chance. At one of those programs, he sang a Karen Carpenter song that had people scratching their heads, wondering why he chose a woman's song. But for Arnel, it made perfect sense. His mother was a massive Carpenters fan, always singing their tunes around the house. That music had soaked into his soul. Even back then, you could see the range and raw talent in him. He wasn't just singing, he was owning every note. Before he even finished elementary school, Arnel had his first taste of national spotlight. He wasn't competing on the quiz show, he was the entertainment. Representing his school, he sang Gano Kita Kamahal by Celeste Legaspi, making his debut on national television. It was a small moment, but a significant one, and just the beginning. But just when things seemed to be going okay, life hit hard. During his last years of junior high, Arnel's mother passed away after a long fight with rheumatic heart disease. That loss changed everything. The hospital and funeral bills wiped out whatever little they had. The family crumbled under the weight of it all. They couldn't afford school anymore. They lost their home. The siblings were split up and sent to live with different relatives. Arnel did what he could. He dropped by to see them whenever he could. But for years, they barely saw each other. As a teenager, Arnel found himself sleeping in public parks or staying with friends when they had space. He held on to school as long as he could, but eventually, he had to let it go. Survival came first. He took whatever jobs he could find just to scrape together enough to eat. In an interview with ABS-CBN, he admitted those days were dark. He fell into substances and alcohol, caught up in the hopelessness. At one point, he even said he wished he was dead. But even with all that pain, something inside him refused to quit. He kept pushing. He didn't know when, but deep down, he believed something bigger was waiting for him. Singing through the struggle years. In 1982, at just 15 years old, Arnel Pineda stepped into the spotlight as the lead singer of a local Filipino band called Hijos. It was a big move for someone so young, and right away, he brought his brother to live with him. But their living conditions were rough. They stayed in what was basically a converted warehouse, sharing space with roaches, rats, and mosquitoes. Still, for Arnel, it was an upgrade. After everything he'd been through, just having a roof and a chance to sing felt like a step forward. He started performing at places like Shakey's Pizza on Taft Street in Manila, building his confidence on small stages. A few years later, in 1986, some of the guys from Ijos regrouped and formed a new band called Amo. That same year, they won a national band competition called Rock Wars, and it seemed like the music dream was finally catching fire. Around this time, Arnel also became a father at just 20 years old. Marriage came later, and eventually he had another child. But both relationships didn't last. He even tried to go solo at one point, but it just wasn't his moment yet. In 1988, Amo made another leap. They won the Philippine leg of the Yamaha World Band Explosion, earning a spot in the finals in Hong Kong. The momentum was strong, but then a rule technicality threw everything off. They had performed Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody to win in the Philippines, but the finals required them to perform the same original song they had competed with at home. Since Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't original, they were disqualified. Still, the band kept pushing. They opened for Robert Palmer in 1989 and played club gigs all over the country, in Quezon City, Olongapo, Makati. One of their hotspots was California Jam in Olongapo, a club popular with U.S. military personnel stationed nearby. By 1990, Arnel and some of the Amo members formed a new group called Intensity 5 and took another shot at the Yamaha World Band Explosion. This time, Arnel won Best Vocalist, and the band placed as first runner-up. That same year, things started to shift. 5 original members split from their leader, Ulises Ablang, and teamed up with Arnel to form a new band called New Age. It happened right before Amo released their only album, Ang Tunay na Amo, which had a radio hit called Running Away. The remaining members of Amo went on to form another group called Boss Band, while Arnel and New Age started playing regular gigs at a venue called Fire and Rain in Makati. Then came 1991, and with it, a major turning point. During one of their Makati performances, a talent agent spotted Arnel and his band. They were offered the chance to move to Hong Kong to perform at a place called Grammy's, a well-known entertainment restaurant. So they packed up and went. In Hong Kong, they worked hard, performing 6 nights a week, from Tuesday to Sunday for several years. But in 1994, after going through a tough breakup, Arnel faced a new struggle. His health took a hit, and it nearly destroyed his voice. He went back to the Philippines to rest and recover. For 6 months, he barely sang. But slowly, his voice returned, and with it, his fighting spirit. He returned to Hong Kong and got right back to performing. By 1998, a new opportunity came along. The owner of a horror-themed restaurant and nightclub called Igor's invited his band, New Age, to play regularly. They leaned into the vibe, rebranding for the gig, suiting up in skeleton costumes and taking on a new name, the Rolling Bones. The bands that built Arnel's rise. In 1999, something big happened for Arnel Pineda. He caught the attention of Warner Brothers Records. Even though he was based abroad at the time, he would fly back to the Philippines during his days off just to record his solo debut album. It was called Arnel Pineda, a self-titled project made up of 10 original songs. Most of the tracks leaned into slow, emotional ballads, the kind that tugged at your heart, though there were a couple of upbeat tunes in the mix too. One even had a Latin flair. One song in particular, Iyak Ka Rin, which translates to "You Will Cry Too," blew up across Asia as a karaoke favorite. Another track, Sayang, meaning too bad, was constantly on the radio. What made the album even more personal was that Arnel had a hand in writing and arranging several of the songs himself. Even with all that going on, he didn't step away from performing. He continued rocking the stage with his longtime band, New Age, keeping that connection with live music alive. In 2001, he added another layer to his journey by collaborating with the popular Filipino band South Border. He sang on a track called Looking Glass from their album The Way We Do. That same year, he put together a fresh new group with a different sound. They eventually called themselves 9mm, and they quickly became a local favorite, playing regular sets at big-time venues like the Hard Rock Cafe in Makati. Then the following year, the band took things international, locking in a 3-month gig at the Edge in Lan Kwai Fong, one of Hong Kong's go-to nightlife districts. By 2004, things shifted again. 3 of Arnel's former New Age bandmates reunited with him, and this time they added a female lead vocalist to share the spotlight. The group rebranded as Most Wanted, and they hit the ground running. They were performing marathon sets, 3 to 4 hours a night, 6 days a week at the Cavern Club in Hong Kong. And even on Sundays, their only official day off, they were still showing up at Filipino community events to perform. That grind never stopped. The moment everything changed for Arnel. In 2006, Arnel Pineda was at another crossroads. After years of grinding it out in the music scene, he got a push from a respected Filipino talent manager and TV director, Bert De Leon. That bit of encouragement was all it took. Arnel packed his bags and moved back to the Philippines with his longtime guitarist and friend, Monet Kahipe. Together, they formed a new band called The Zoo. They pulled in Emil Bondoc on bass, Edgar Mendoza on keys, and McCoy Alcantara on drums. The group signed with De Leon's Sundance Entertainment Corp., and by the end of that year, the Zoo was lighting up clubs all over Manila and Olongapo. Night after night, they were doing 3 to 5 hour sets, working non-stop to make a name for themselves. By the following year, Arnel and the Zoo had built a reputation playing covers of classic rock bands, especially Journey. One of their biggest fans, Noel Gomez, began posting their performances on YouTube. What nobody expected was that halfway across the world, Journey's original guitarist, Neil Schon, was watching. Journey was in trouble. Their lead singer, Steve Augeri, had stepped down in 2006, and the band was searching for a new frontman, fast. When Neil reached out to Gomez about connecting with Arnel, the singer brushed it off. He figured it was one of those empty offers that float around the music industry. But this one was real. Neil Schon wasn't just a fan. He was offering Arnel a shot to audition for one of the biggest rock bands in history. Once it sank in, Arnel was on the first flight to San Francisco. Landing that audition wasn't easy. Just getting a U.S. visa from the Philippines is a mission on its own. But fate stepped in. The embassy officer who approved Arnel's visa happened to have seen him perform before and remembered him. Everything started aligning like the plot of a movie. After a week of intense auditions, Arnel Pineda became the new lead singer of Journey. But even with the dream gig in hand, reality hit hard on the night of his first show with the band. It was February 2008 in Chile, and Arnel was backstage trying to talk himself out of going on. The nerves had him ready to quit before even stepping into the spotlight. But the band wasn't having it. They pushed him forward, and when he finally hit that stage, the crowd went wild. Critics raved about how much he sounded like Steve Perry, Journey's iconic original frontman. From that moment, everything changed. One night he was performing in small clubs, And the next, he was commanding stadiums packed with 30,000 fans. Arnel didn't just survive, he thrived. He quickly got used to the big stage, but the surreal feeling never left him. Even years later, he would say it still felt like a dream. Being a part of Journey continued to transform his life in ways he never imagined. By the time Journey reached its 13th year with Arnel at the helm, the band's impact had only grown stronger, and their most iconic anthem, "Don't Stop Believin'," had found new life. Though it didn't make much noise when it was first released in 1981, the song slowly built a legacy. It didn't even get a mention in Rolling Stone's review of the Escape album back then. But things changed over the years. In 2010, a cover of "Don't Stop Believin'" exploded in popularity thanks to the hit TV show Glee. That version climbed all the way to number 4 on the US charts. Suddenly, a new generation was belting out a song their parents grew up with. Around that same time, Arnel's story was making headlines too. People couldn't get over how closely his voice matched Perry's, and the energy he brought to the band gave Journey a whole new wave of momentum. The song's resurgence through Glee and its iconic moment in The Sopranos finale brought Journey to an entirely new generation. Kids who hadn't even heard the name before were suddenly singing along. Bassist Ross Valerie put it simply, "Journey's music stayed alive because families kept passing it down. But these pop culture moments did something more. Now, students who never grew up with the band were belting out every lyric like they'd known them forever. And with that kind of reach, one thing's clear. This band, this voice, and that timeless anthem aren't going anywhere." The night everything fell apart. After a rough night on stage at Rock in Rio, Arnel Pineda took to Instagram and laid it all out. He didn't sugarcoat anything. He was tired, overwhelmed, and seriously questioning whether he should keep going with Journey. It wasn't just about a bad show. It was about everything piling up, the pressure, the non-stop grind, and the weight of trying to live up to impossible expectations. For months, Pineda and the rest of Journey had been on a relentless tour, city after city, night after night. That kind of schedule will wear down even the strongest, and for Arnel, it caught up fast. He admitted that the constant traveling, the back-to-back performances, and the lack of rest had taken a serious toll. His body was giving out. His voice, once rock-solid, had grown weary. And Rock in Rio? That was the moment it all came to a head. He struggled through technical problems, vocal fatigue, and the kind of emotional pressure most people never see behind the bright lights. He later opened up about how hard that night hit him, not just physically, but mentally. He talked about how being Journey's frontman means more than just singing. He pours his whole heart and soul into every note. But even then, he's his own toughest critic. Every little mistake eats at him, even after performing the same song 100 times. And with fans always comparing him to Steve Perry, he felt like no matter how hard he tried, someone was always waiting to point out where he fell short. But he didn't hide from the criticism either. He posted a video from that Rio performance where he had trouble hitting notes during "Don't Stop Believin'" due to faulty ear monitors. Then, in a long Facebook post, he thanked fans for their support, but also opened up about how crushed he felt. He knew he'd made mistakes, and it tore him apart. He said it was wild how a one-off night could overshadow everything else he'd done right. And of all places, it had to be at Rock in Rio. But what really stood out was how vulnerable he got. He told fans that if they truly wanted him gone from Journey, he'd step aside. He asked them to send a simple vote, go or stay. And if 1 million people said go, he'd walk away for good. He wasn't being dramatic. He was exhausted, hurting, and tired of fighting to prove he belonged. And yet, the comments poured in, this time full of love. Fans rallied around him, urging him not to let the critics get to him. They reminded him that every artist has off nights, but true fans remember the journey it took to get there. They told him to stay, to keep going, because the heart he brings to the stage still matters. What fans never knew about that night. The guys in Journey didn't hold back when it came to defending their frontman, Arnel Pineda. Drummer Dean Castronovo took to Instagram, shutting down the backlash and standing firmly by Arnel's side. He pointed out that Arnel has poured everything into his performances for years, pushing through exhaustion, pressure, and all the ups and downs that come with the job. Dean reminded fans that a voice isn't a machine. It's a living, breathing instrument. Some nights it soars, other nights it struggles, and blaming someone for that just isn't right. He praised Arnel's humility, resilience, and heart. Then he got personal, calling out the critics and telling them to back off, because Arnel isn't just a bandmate to him. He's family. Behind the scenes, there was more going on than people realized. In an earlier interview with Ultimate Classic Rock, Dean revealed that Arnel had been struggling with a vocal issue for over a decade. No one even knew about it. But once he got connected with a vocal coach and they made a simple change, just turning the stage volume down, things completely turned around. Dean was shocked. For 14 years, Arnel had been pushing through without saying a word, not even asking for help or a different sound setup. But then, a new sound guy named Tom came along, and everything changed. Dean said Arnel sounded like a whole new person, and after 15 shows, his voice was strong and steady every night. Jonathan Cain, the band's longtime keyboardist, showed his support too. He posted online, thanking Arnel for his 16 years with the band and letting him know he's not going anywhere. It was a public affirmation that meant a lot, especially during a time when Arnel was catching heat from all angles. Then Neil Schon, Journey's founding guitarist, stepped in to address the bigger issue: the sound at the Rock in Rio show. Neil claimed that Avenged Sevenfold, the headliners that night, were the reason things didn't go smoothly. According to him, they controlled the festival's sound setup and limited Journey's audio so much that the crowd couldn't even hear them properly. Neil shared a video clip to prove the audience was still vibing and called out what he saw as fake outrage. He slammed the blogs that criticized Arnel, calling them bought and paid for, and told Arnel not to listen to any of it. The drama didn't stop there. When fans asked if Journey's own sound guy could have done something, Neil said no, and explained that sound equipment can be locked and password protected. When someone questioned why Avenged Sevenfold was given the headlining slot instead of Journey, Neil chalked it up to politics. Avenged Sevenfold hasn't responded to any of the claims. Some fans pointed out that Evanescence played between the two bands and didn't seem to have the same sound issues, which raised even more questions. Eventually, Arnel spoke out. In a video he posted to Instagram, he apologized to Journey fans for any drama he may have caused. He acknowledged that the band wasn't perfect and that things were messy, but reminded everyone that the world is a tough place right now, and nobody's life is without struggle. He said he waited a bit before speaking up again because he wanted to gather his thoughts. At the heart of his message was the idea that good still exists, even in the middle of chaos. He thanked the fans who supported him, admitting it was deeply humbling. He wasn't looking for pity or praise, just trying to connect with people who might be going through their battles too. He also addressed the cruelty he's faced online, pointing out that the hate, racism, and personal attacks have been coming his way since 2007, But still, every time he's knocked down, there's a wave of good people ready to lift him up. People who show kindness, send encouragement, and remind him he's not alone. That kind of support, he said, is what keeps him going. He said the experience reminded him that there is still a lot of good in the world. To the critics who keep picking him apart, he had a message. Exploiting someone's flaws for your gain will always come back around. The universe sees it all. And for those who still believe in chasing their dreams, he had some advice. If you ever get your shot, don't take it lightly. Do it with love. Put your whole heart and soul into it. And make sure the people around you are strong enough to lift you when you can't carry the weight alone. Through it all, the pressure, the backlash, the constant scrutiny, Arnel's love for Journey has never wavered. 17 years in, and he's still amazed that he gets to be the one singing for the band. The spotlight has brought him worldwide recognition, but it's also made him a target in some of the internet's ugliest spaces. Even so, he's still here. And for now, he's not stepping away. Why everyone thought he was jailed. A wild rumor suddenly exploded online about Arnel Pineda, the lead singer of Journey, leaving fans completely shocked. A YouTube video claimed he'd been sentenced to life in prison in San Francisco, a serious, dramatic allegation that caught people off guard. To make matters worse, the video used the Fox News logo without permission, which made it seem more legitimate to unsuspecting viewers. The timing added to the confusion. It dropped just days after Journey had wrapped a high-energy show in Las Vegas. In just 2 days, the video racked up nearly 700,000 views, spreading a completely false story that Pineda had been convicted of abuse and thrown in prison. But here's the truth. Fox News never ran any story like that. Neither did any other legit news outlet. It was all just made up. Fans started flooding Pineda's Instagram with questions and concerns. Some were sad, others were confused, and many just wanted to know what was going on. That's when Pineda stepped in himself. He didn't give the rumor too much attention, but he made it clear that the whole thing was fake. He let his followers know, in his own subtle way, that he was just fine, definitely not in prison, and definitely not facing any charges. People close to him weren't quiet about it either. Jenny Mooner, one of his longtime friends, jumped in on Facebook to shut everything down. She let everyone know that Arnel was safe and sound in Manila, spending time with his kids and gearing up for another tour. She didn't sugarcoat it. She warned that spreading fake news wouldn't be taken lightly and could come with legal consequences. That same message was echoed by his manager, Yul Session, who called the video completely false and damaging. He confirmed that Journey's management was standing by Arnel and had already started to get the video removed from YouTube. Fans weren't buying it. Many flooded the comments to defend him, calling the video fake and voicing their frustration over how quickly false information spreads online. One fan, a mother from Queens, said it was heartbreaking to see people go to such lengths just for clicks. But it wasn't only fans speaking up. Filipino-American artists and community leaders also began weighing in. They raised concerns about the dangers of blurring the line between fake news and real journalism, with some even suggesting this felt like a deliberate smear campaign. Vic Perez, who's worked on Arnel's U.S. concerts, said he could tell it was a hoax the moment he saw it. Others called for more caution, urging people to fact-check before trusting anything from questionable online sources. What happened to Arnel is just one example of how powerful and dangerous misinformation can be in a digital world, where anyone can make a video look like real news. Even vloggers like John Baguio have started reminding their audiences that if something doesn't show up on a trusted site or in a simple search, it's probably fake. Meanwhile, despite all the noise, Journey kept moving forward. Last year, they had to cancel a few shows in the UK and Ireland because of internal legal drama between keyboardist Jonathan Cain and founder Neil Schon. But they still powered through the rest of their 50th anniversary Freedom Tour and brought it all to a close on March 16th in Las Vegas. The show was a hit, as usual, with fans praising their unforgettable sound and epic performances. Next up, they're heading to Canada for a show in North York on July 19th. Proof that neither fake news nor backstage drama can slow them down. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, comment, and turn on post notifications to stay updated with our latest content.